It's June 15th, 2002. 750 Red Force soldiers are trapped behind enemy lines. The war in the Sumava region has been nearing its 9th month. Large swathes of the region, including the logistical center of DaVinci, have been seized by units of the Blue Force 2nd Brigade. However, the Red Force forces are in the middle of their own counter-offensive against the Blue Force forces in the region. Determined on pushing Blue Force from their foothold at Hrazdovic and pushing them back across the Otava River, since late May, Red Force forces have attempted to get a sizable footing and breakthrough to Hrazdovic. Once taken, the logistical stability and the foothold of the Blue Force forces in the southern region could be put into turmoil, enabling the lesser-equipped Red Force Reserve to attack and attain the initiative for control of the region. But in this precarious situation, the Red Force forces have ended up finding themselves surrounded. 4 days prior, on the 11th, the 3rd Brigade assembled at the town of Suisse, where its 1st Battalion Tactical Group set off pushing up the 169th Highway against the elements of the 2nd Brigade, seizing Butatus, Rabai, Tainak, and eventually pushing into Hrazdovic by the 13th, where their momentum slowed in harsh house-to-house fighting of the urban environment, which was not helped by Blue Force forces retaining control of the heights into the town. But Blue Force forces in the region weren't out of the fight. Despite the 3rd Brigade blowing up the bridges along the Otava River to protect their backline integrity, they didn't have enough spare forces to garrison the crossings and had to suffice with the training battalion from their operational reserve, with support from artillery from the 4th Artillery Battalion and the 1st Heavy Gun Brigade to hold against any crossings. But the Blue Force forces took note of this and brought up the 8th Mechanized Battalion early on the 14th to ford the river at Zukovic with their amphibious BTRs. This led to the 2nd Training Company being practically blown away. In addition, Blue Force artillery entered the fight, essentially destroying the 3rd Brigade's artillery battalion, suppressing heavily the long guns of the 1st Heavy Gun Brigade. Following this, the 8th Mechanized Parent Brigade, the 14th, crossed and led the breakthrough, routing the rest of the training battalion and recapturing the 169th Highway from Rabai to the intersection where it joined the 24th Highway at Novi Vod by the late hours of the 14th. This left 3 battalions of the 3rd Brigade cut off on the east side of the Otava River in Hrazdovic with no artillery supply. It became clear that these forces had to be withdrawn, but with the lines of communication and supply cut, this required offensive action rather than the brigade conducting a breakout alone. A plan was developed for the various units to hold tight and escape once the Blue Force forces had been sufficiently weakened. Meanwhile, a mechanized task force from the south would conduct a raid through enemy territory to secure a route out, as well as preventing any opportunity for Blue Force forces to gather a sufficient amount to attack Susice. The operation called for the 9th Mechanized Battalion from the south and Volsovi to recapture the taken stretch of the 169th Highway, as they were the only battalion in the region up to full strength in M113s. The force gathered at 9:45 am in Susice to start their attack on Rabai at 10 o'clock, extensively using heavy mortars to take the town and push out the elements of the 20th Battalion with heavy losses, with most of the battalion clearing out Butatis to the west and stopping reinforcements coming from Zukovic to the south. The 3rd Platoon of 2nd Company was designated to lead the strike up the highway, to take and hold the intersection with support from heavy mortars and increased logistics to achieve their goal.